"Who's that boy, Mom?" "Your father. But something went wrong. He came back 50 years younger. The morning the past knocked on our door, the kettle was whistling and rain stitched the window into gray lace. Noor stood on her toes to see over the sill. "Who's that boy, Mom?" Maya wiped her hands on a towel and went to the door. A teenager stood under the porch roof, black hair plastered to his forehead, a canvas pack slung over one shoulder. He had Arman's eyes, dark, clever, amused even when the world wasn't. "May," he said, as if it were still their first month sharing an apartment and only she got to call her that. I made it back." The towel fell from Maya's hand. "Arman." Her voice was a breath. Behind her, Noor tightened her grip on the doorframe. He swallowed. Something went wrong. The peregrine gate, our calibration on the shear was off. "I thought I'd be older. But I'm not. He looked at his rain-damp hands. "I think the field rolled me back 50 years. Noor stepped out from behind Maya, chin tilted like her mother's when she was stubborn. "You're my dad." He looked at her and flinched, as if the question was a light too bright to bear. "I don't have you yet," he said gently. "Not in my head. I remember the grant proposal. The first houseplant that wouldn't die. The promise to take Maid to the sea in winter. But not." His voice faltered. "How old are you?" 12, Noor said, eyes hard. Maya pulled them both inside. The kettle was screaming. She turned the stove off with a shaking hand. They made tea because making tea was what you did when you couldn't fix anything else. The boy, Arman, sat hunched at the kitchen table, rainwater pooling at his elbows on the varnished wood. Maya put the chipped blue mug in front of him, the one Arman always claimed made coffee taste like courage. He stared at it. A tremor caught his mouth. "I know the weight of this cup," he said. "I know where the glaze is thinnest." Maya slid into the chair opposite, hands clasped as if in prayer. "When the gate failed, your log went black. They found the lab disassembled like a ransacked clock. We held a memorial with a photograph." "Did you?" Her throat closed. "Did you die?" He smiled crookedly, so much like the man in the photograph that Maya's chest ached. "I don't know." The field felt like being peeled by light. Then a meadow of stars stacked on top of each other. "When I woke, I was on the riverbank near the old stone bridge. My clothes were wrong. My muscles," he looked down, "knew." Noor leaned forward. "Prove you're him." He lifted his shirt. Along his ribs, the tiny crescent scar from when he and Maya had tried to slice a mango with a dull knife, years before Noor was born. "You cried," he said to Maya. "Not because I was hurt, because you'd broken the promise to never bring knives to bed." Maya pressed her knuckles to her mouth. Tears slipped between them, silent. "And this," he said, pointing at his left hand. "The callus from the camera shutter. You made me stop taking photos of you when you were sad. You said the sadness would eat the lens." The set of Noor's shoulders softened, but only a little. "Memories aren't fingerprints," she said. "Neither is love," he replied, meeting her gaze. "But it's all I brought back." They tried the comfortable stories first. He played the broken key piano in the living room, the melody that always made Maya laugh and say it sounded like rain trying to learn to walk. He found shortcuts in the house no one knew except Arman, where the floorboard creaked, where the back door stuck in humidity. He told Noor about the day Maya named the cat they never kept. But when Noor asked, "Do you remember my first word?" he shook his head helplessly. After Noor had shut herself in her room, the house felt like a museum to a life that had continued without its statue. Arman wandered to the bookshelf and pulled down a composition notebook. Maya knew which one without looking, the lab journal he'd left in the attic, full of equations and between them, notes like love letters. May, the math wants to be a circle. You don't. He flipped until he found the page with a sketch of the Peregrine Gates coils. The shear shouldn't reverse memory, he murmured. Entropy went backward for the body. But memory's not just mass. It's distributed. Across time. Maya asked. Across places, he said, eyes alight. Across anchors. They went looking for anchors. First, the stone bridge where he'd woken. He stood looking down at the river, the smell of algae and iron, and his shoulders loosened. He remembered the night he proposed on that bridge, sweeping rain off the railing with his sleeve, the ring tucked in a matchbox because he couldn't afford velvet. Maya saw it arrive in him, like a bird landing on a branch. Then the town museum, where a photograph hung of a science fair. Teenage Arman behind a cardboard diorama of a black hole, grinning like the future was a real thing you could pocket. He pressed his hand to the glass and laughed, a startled, free sound that made strangers turn. Finally, the lab. The institute had locked it up after the memorial, but Maya still had a key. Dust lay like velvet over the consoles. The gate loomed in the center, a dead, hungry halo. "This is where I left," Arman whispered. He touched the coil, then snatched his hand back, breathless. "I can hear the hum. May, if we power it just enough, maybe we can pull the rest of me in. Years. The memories. And risk sending you further back," Maya said, throat tight. "Past me. Past Noor. Past your own birth." He looked at the ring he now wore on a lanyard around his neck. Maya had threaded it there when his hands shook too much to hold it. "Or risk nothing and never be her father," he said softly. Noor had come to the doorway without them noticing. She took 2 steps in, brave even with fear thrumming under her skin. "What if being my dad isn't having the memories?" she said. "What if it's what you do now?" He turned to her, face open and young and unbearably familiar. "I don't want to make you a science experiment," he said. "I want to make you breakfast." Maya laughed, the sound breaking into a sob. "Terrible pancakes," she said. "The worst," he agreed. The gate waited, indifferent. "Choose," Noor said, voice steady. "Choose us. Here." They decommissioned the gate together. It took a week of careful work and one glorious afternoon of cathartic destruction. Arman kept the smallest coil, the one that hummed like a bee when you spoke near it. "A reminder," he said, tucking it into the toolbox he would use to fix the loose porch board, the broken piano key, the dripping bathroom tap. He learned Noor like a language. He learned that she hated olives but loved the brine, that she doodled galaxies in the margins of her math homework, that she pretended to be brave until midnight and then needed all the lights on to cross the hall. He learned how to apologize for not being there and how to show up now. Sometimes the past tugged at him. Sometimes it didn't. Some memories returned unbidden. The way Noor's hair smelled like oranges the day she was born, the look on Maya's face when she first held her. Other memories never came. They made new ones to stand in their place. On a late summer evening, they went back to the stone bridge. The river was low, lightning bugs making grammar of the dark. Noor sat on the railing, legs swinging. Maya leaned against Arman's shoulder because that's where the world made sense.